Good evening, everyone. Hello, I'm Caroline Baumann, the director at Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum. And as all of you know, we are nearing the end of the 4th annual NYC by Design Week. And I know all of us are running across town, east, west, north, south. So I really appreciate your presence here tonight. And I am thrilled for tonight's Design by Hand talk with Humberto Campana, founder with his brother Fernando of Estudio Campana, one of contemporary design's most influential and exciting ateliers. We are celebrating Brazil, not only this week, but all summer long at Cooper Hewitt. And all of you are invited to the party, and I look forward to seeing you at the party. Let me tell you a little bit about that. In our renewed Arthur Ross Terrace and Garden, which National Design Award winner Walter Hood transformed in the last few months, we also asked him to pay homage to Burle Marx. Many of you have probably seen the fantastic exhibition at the Jewish Museum, just a couple of blocks north of here. And Walter has come up with Burle Marx-inspired benches called Copa Banana. And our wonderful editor today was correcting me because I, of course, was calling it Copacabana, and she said, no, it's Copa Banana. So anyway, we had a good chuckle this afternoon over that. And on July 14th and July 28th, as part of the fantastic Cocktails at Cooper Hewitt series, we're actually injecting an element of performance this year. So you'll have Juilliard performers one night, modern dancers another night, and we have 2 nights dedicated to the global music of Rio de Janeiro-based music producer DJ Chief Boima, who will be here. So come with your dancing shoes on. Brazil's Estudio Campana joins a long list of iconic design firms who have participated in Cooper Hewitt's Design by Hand series. It is thanks to our partner, Van Cleef & Arpels, that Marimekko, Heath Ceramics, Ralph Rucci, and Pixar Animation Studios have led workshops dedicated to the exploration of the human hand in the design process. Having collaborated with the Campanas in 2008 for our exhibition Campana Brothers Select, I am delighted to welcome Humberto back to Cooper Hewitt tonight. While Estudio Campana is renowned for its use of found materials, a commitment to the handcrafted object has remained absolutely central to the Campana's design philosophy since the brothers first produced their collection in 1983. Working out of their studio in São Paulo, the brothers frequently partner with local artisans with an eye toward bringing Brazilian craftsmanship into a dialogue with contemporary design and manufacturing. Their design process is entirely informed and advanced by direct engagement with weaving, sewing, embroidery, and other forms of handicraft. The Campanas have exhibited their collections in museums and galleries around the world, and Campana design objects are in the collection at the Cooper Hewitt, the Musée des Arts Décoratifs, the Vitre Design Museum, and the Museum of Modern Art in New York, the Centre Georges Pompidou, and the Museum of Modern Art in São Paulo. The recipients of numerous awards and honors, the brothers were Maison et Objets Designers of the Year in 2012. And that same year, they were selected for the Comité Colbert Prize in Paris, received the Order of Cultural Merit in Brasilia, and were awarded the Order of Arts and Letters by the Minister of Culture in France. Fernando and Humberto are also the founders of the Instituto Campana, which promotes the protection and conservation of Brazil's historic and artistic heritage, with particular attention to architecture and design. Tonight's conversation coincides with the launch of 3 days of intense hands-on workshops for people of all ages with Humberto and Ian Diesendruck of Estudio Campana. Special thanks to our dear friends at Van Cleef & Arpels for their enthusiasm and for their generous support and embrace of the Design by Hand series. And now I have the honor of welcoming my very dear friend and Cooper Hewitt trustee, Alain Bernard, who is also the president and CEO of Van Cleef and Arpels of the Americas, to the podium. Enjoy tonight's program. Excuse me, and I'll return following Humberto's talk for a brief Q&A.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And I'm pleased to learn about the Copa Banana event. And I'm sure it will be also a Copa Caipirinha event, yes, right? Which will be one of the most interesting parts of the event, I believe. Thank you very much for the introduction. I will be short because you said a lot about the whole program of the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum, and obviously of the honoree and performer of tonight, Humberto Campana. I just want to say a few words, first to thank you very much for being here. I mean, it's quite an impressive audience. The room is completely full. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I want also to give a few words about the partnership and the friendship between the Cooper Hewitt and Van Cleef and Arpels. I believe in our history we had 3 dates. The first one was 1906, which was the creation of Van Cleef and Arpels in Paris. The second one was 1939, where Van Cleef and Arpels arrived in the Americas, in New York. And then 2011, where Van Cleef and Arpels and the Cooper Hewitt got married. Almost married. We started to date. We organized together a major exhibition here at the Cooper Hewitt, which is till this date the most important exhibition in the number of pieces we introduced, we showed, and in attendance. So, and it was the last exhibition before the Cooper Hewitt actually renovated to what it is today, this incredibly beautiful museum. And in 2013, we created together this program, which is designed by hand. We crafted it together with exactly the same purpose, assessing that we have a different activity between a museum and a jeweler, but we have the same values and the same mission in life, which is showing the magic power of the human hand in a world of machines, in a world of digital connections and dematerialization. Human hands have some magic powers, and we wanted to express it through different arts and crafts. And that's why we started with Marimekko, and then his ceramic, and then Ralph Rucci, and then Pixar Animation Studio, which was kind of unusual thinking of hand, but actually they showed us that they do everything by hand initially. And then tonight we have the great pleasure to welcome Humberto Campana, the representative of the Campana brothers and the Estudio Campana. So Caroline, you said a lot about what you do and where you expose in this museum, in the MoMA, in Paris. Just a special personal word about Van Cleef and Arpels and Brazil. We love Brazil, so it's really a real personal pleasure to have you here. I was in São Paulo last week, just at the time we introduced a collection, just the night of the impeachment of Dilma. So it was just the perfect timing to talk about something else than politics in Brazil. And we have a special connection with your country, with your culture, with the not only the beauty of your country, but the richness of your culture. And I'm sure through your art, through your craft, you express it fantastically. So thank you very much for being here. I know you're here just for a few days. You're traveling back tomorrow, correct?
Yes.
So, Humberto, without further ado.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for Cooper Hewitt Museum, Van Cleef, to bring me here, and all the team of Cooper Hewitt and Van Cleef to help in this project. Well, most of the times I do the lectures with my brother Fernando, but he couldn't come, so he speaks better than I, but I will try to do my best to make comfort for everybody and quickly. I'm not a philosopher, not theoretical, I am hands-on. So I'm going to start from my early works, my beginning, until the last project. I grew up in the countryside of São Paulo state. There was plenty of waterfalls, the space is beautiful. My father was an agronomic engineer and my mother a primary teacher. My family came from Italy to grow coffee. They had farms in Brazil. So my whole childhood was among the trees, the animals. And when I was a kid, people asked me, what would you like to be when you grow up? And I told them I would like to be indigenous from the Amazon. So it's funny because then I moved to São Paulo, 20 million inhabitants, a big urban city like New York, but very chaotic, very fascinating. São Paulo is beautiful, it's ugly, but the beauty is its own ugliness. You need to find beauty in special places and you construct beauty. This fascinates me in São Paulo. And some images, very colorful, lots of things in the streets. And I came to São Paulo to study law. I'm a lawyer. I studied law for 5 years, but I was very mediocre as a lawyer because I was a child, so immature when I need to choose a career. And I practiced law for 6 months, but I was so bad, and I decided to quit. And I told myself, I want to construct my life with my hands. It was like a mantra. And by myself, I started working with sculptures in metal. So was one of my first sculptures in metal. Then Fernando one day came to give me a helping hand in my studio because Fernando is graduate in architecture. He studied design, so he started giving functionality to my early works. So we did a collection of furniture. That was 1989, of almost 30 chairs, all talking about imperfection, mistake, chaos, and we named this collection Uncomfortables. Because at that time we didn't know what path should we go, to design or art, and we were kind of confused. Until now I don't know what I do, because I like to do many things. And this was our earlier works. And then there was an article on Domus magazine about this collection from Marco Romanelli, and he kind of gives some tips, that maybe it would be better if you move in the direction to make dialogues with Italian brands or, companies that could manufacture our work. And I thought, well, we didn't have so much means to construct furniture. Nobody's interested in Brazil, was interested in Brazil to do our furniture. So I started looking around the materials. So the materials for us represents like characters waiting for an author. It looks like this. There is always a flirt with the material. So this is our early works, where we give a second life to the material, and we try to give nobility. I guess we are the most demanding things for me is to give nobility for triviality. This is important to change their DNA. It looks luxurious, perfect, beautiful. Looks like made in a cartel or a big company, in plastic. But that was made in our studio. This is I love this chair because it's garden rose. And one night I have a dream of this chair. The image of this chair came in my dream. And by chance I had a metal structure like this and some garden rose. Immediately when I woke up, I went to the studio and started working. And this chair is very nice. Oh, this also is made out of bubble wrap, almost 40 layers of bubble wrap. It's interesting because it's very easy, this chair, because there is a metal structure and 8 screws that hold the bubble wrap. And one day we did a show in Rio de Janeiro and I sent this chair to Rio de Janeiro. The next day when I went to the museum, the chair was completely destroyed. And I told them, what you have done for Oh, they told me, no, we are looking for the chair. So it was crazy because immediately we reconstruct the chair because all the legs are dismountable. It's very practical. I would love to come back with this chair again with another material because this was early 90s. Then also we start to change the functionality of one material, bring another. Water drains, we transform in a beautiful pattern of shadows on the ground. This was interesting because this was a blade of polycarbonate and was trying to make a fruit bowl. And this is on polycarbonate. And then I saw, no, this could be big, we can make a chair. This was early 90s also. And then this chair was presented here in MoMA, Museum of Modern Art in New York, and it's part of its collection as well. Oh, São Paulo is full of things on the streets. There are people that gathers cardboard in order to making their living. So I pay a lot of attention to these scenes in the streets. They are so. I try to see beauty in those materials. And we did a collection of cardboard. I love the chair of Frank Gehry, those early ones. They are beautiful, and I would like to do something, but I try to mix, make a hybridism between two materials. The base also of our work is doing hybridism between artificial, natural, plastic. It's all about this, most of our projects. I think this is our history, because I live in the countryside. Now I live in a urban center. I move all over the world. So I bring these two universes, the primitive and the sophisticated, the urban side. I like this because it mixed with plastic. This was presented in an exhibition from Victor Design Museum. It was all made in our studio in cardboard. And this is just one of a kind. I would like to come back. We did so many things, because then I got interested in another material, so I moved. I don't stop. Me and my brother, we like to explore different universes. I don't like to get stuck just in one universe. I think creativity in the 21st century is to take out limits. You can explore different frontiers and come back with more mature eyes again to your career. This is where it starts, our work starts to be. This chair, one day I was walking in São Paulo and I bought a bunch of ropes. And I took the bunch of ropes to my studio, and the bunch completely deconstructed in front of my eyes. And I looked at that. Wow, Fernando, both one look at the other. Wow, we could construct a chair like this. And how to do it? We construct a metal structure, and myself, I start weaving. In the beginning, I was myself used to work with the hands. Today, I like to be beside the artisans, dialoguing with him, but because I do so many things, so I don't have, if I stay there, I will not do other things. And this makes us famous. This was presented here in New York by Paolo Antonelli in the Museum of Modern Art in 1998. And one day, that chair was part of a book of Mel Byers, and was edited in a book. And one day, the Massimo Morosi, the art director of Edra, a company that most manufacturers our work in Italy, was interested in this chair to launch in the salon. And he asked for a project, but we didn't how to make a project of something so chaotic. So we made a movie, a small video that is going to be presented here. Please. This was 1997, this video. It's funny, it has no sound because me and my brother, we are having a quarrel. We didn't know that it was recording, so I took out the sound. In Milan, in the salon. Okay. And they did this chair. Very completely much more full of cords, because this chair has 400 meters of cords, of ropes. And they brought an artisan from Sicily to develop this project. And this chair made us well known all over the place. And since then we have a collaboration with them. Since 2 years ago we have been dialoguing. I like to be close to the companies that I work. It's very important this to be like a family. This is another scene that I saw in São Paulo, people throwing garbage, not garbage, I don't know how to say, lixo, yeah, but they containers, they put in containers in the street, and I like, I saw this, I like this photo, because it has a hybridness between green and wood, and from those scenes, I did the favela chair, and it was interesting, because where my studio is based, there is plenty of boxes of wood, and when I did this chair, I myself also gathered the slats on the streets nearby the studio, and I myself constructed this. And I like this chair because it shows that everybody can do it. Because the philosophy of this chair is that you create a structure and then you fill it up, the space of this chair, very randomly, like the favela houses, the houses in the favela. This also is part of later, 10 years later, Massimo Morosi decided to produce this bed. It's funny because Massimo Morosi, he was a great creator. He was the generation of Andrea Branzi, Sotzas, and he passed away 2 years ago. And he decided to do this collection of beds 1 year before he knew that he has cancer. So he was a poet. Everything that I learned was with him. He's a very clever person. And he always says to us, never follow trends. Something, if don't follow, go follow your heart. And since then, we are doing this because today everybody do 3D printing. And we decide to maintain, like a statement, to work with hands because it's important. My country has lots of tradition in crafts, and I try to express all those manifestations in my work, me and my brother. This is another scene in the street, and at that time, it was 2001, we're looking to do investigation, a new way of make upholstery without using the traditional methods. So watching those scenes, we did a series of chairs that I'm going to show very quickly, named Banquet. Banquet was like a dinner. That was the first one. Those plushes are Chinese plush. This has some sounds inside the animal. So when people was used to sound like was very interesting. Then the teddy bears, Mickey Mouse. This was a project that we had done for Disney, Great Britain, a sofa. And all those chairs are manufactured in our studio in a small edition because you cannot do mass production with this. So we decided to make a small edition to maintain the philosophy of our studio, the hands-on, and also give jobs. I see my studio like a small school of crafts. Sometimes there is some different manifestation of weaving, some embroidering, welding, working with wood, and I love this. I go everybody to talk and discuss. For me, it's very important this dialogue with the artisan. Another one. And from this, Then we start to get in contact with NGOs. We decide to bring the plush alligators to an NGO of wife of prisoners to maintain, to give them income, and we bought leather, cattle leather, and give them to reproduce an alligator. So the alligator is so beautiful, it's very expressionist. Sometimes it doesn't look like an alligator, but I like this, and I like this project. And since then, we did a collection in leather. They produce, we buy from them, and we manufacture, attached one to the other very manually. Sometimes takes three weeks to do one of those chairs. And then we start also, this is a new project that we have been presenting lately, was in Paris, in Carpenter's Gallery, where we ask also those communities to make cushions, and we did a collection of, we are doing a collection of sofas and armchairs with the skin of sheep from Uruguay. This also was one of the projects that we are working with. It's a community in the north of Brazil where they are used to do those dolls made out of cloth from the factories that they have in the area. We decided to buy those dolls and make chairs. They are manufactured in the studio, and we did. And this was the first project that we unconsciously, without we are going to work with NGOs. No, we bought without thinking that how we could change people's life. Those chairs I start to be on the media, so people start to buy those dolls. And we unconsciously we change their lives. The people who does that, because after that they bought a loft, so they produce this. So that was the key, you know. Why not do work more and more? Because Brazil is this, you know. I think a designer today has to be political. You can change lives, people. It's not to make just a beautiful object, but it needs to have something behind it. For me, it's important to do something that has a meaning, not to do another object. For me, this is talks. From this, we decide to bought the dolls and make this rug in Italy for me. I like this rug very much. This was another project that we did for Lacoste. Lacoste asked us to make a special edition of the polo. And we try to put our brand, you know, because we always work with already existing materials. So we asked them to send us 2,000 logos, Lacoste crocodiles. We went to a community in Rio de Janeiro of Ladies Association, another project, and we asked them to create a polo with 2,000 crocodiles, always attached to handmade. The polo is not so comfortable, but it's beautiful. I think it's important for you to do things, you know, not worry. And then you start getting mature, and then we start coming back with the project with another eyes. This is important for me, to make a testimony of my time. And these were also a special edition. And then we did a second special edition produced in this favela. Lacoste paid the ladies to do this. And this is also moving back to another universe. This was some also experiments to make sofas without the traditional to be so rigid. So I say these are small landscapes, micro-architectural, ecosystem. This was inspired in alligators. This bow is these are two big pillows, one off the top of the other, and very simple. This is another story that I would like to put some more image about this. At that time, that was 2002, we are also looking to create a material, a new material with different materials. So we did this chair with felt, pieces of carpet, EVA, rubber, and we rolled all those materials into we rolled, and then we created this chair. Then one day I saw the bottom of the chair, and I thought, oh, this can be also, we can investigate the bottom of the chair. So we named it Sushi Series, where everything's rolled. For us, sushi in Brazil means rolling, because we have the largest Japanese community outside Japan in Brazil. So the Japanese food means sushi, everything. So we have the sushi delivery, but means rolling. And observing this, we create a collection. Start rolling the materials, we buy the materials. This is all manufactured in the Estudio Campana. One by one, we glue one to the other. Then we fix in the structure. This is Dorival. And we create those chairs. This is a series of chairs and projects that we name Sushi Series. This is a project for a garden. Casa Brutus in Tokyo asked us to make a garden, a prototype of a garden. And me and my brother, we imagined a garden that people can go under or in the top. And these would be big aquariums in glass. But that was only a project. There will be two buildings, one that people can go up on the top and under the roof. Sometimes this sofa takes 1 month to be manufactured. Then we start to mix with another material, with brass. This was a show that we did in Paris. Only mirrors, we named Ocean. There was a liquid atmosphere in the gallery. This is another story that I'd like to tell you. This is a dance in the north of Brazil named Maracatu. During the carnival, people, they dress those big wigs out of these materials, and they dance, they roll it. And observing this, we create, Louis Vuitton asked us to create a cabinet for them, for the project Objet Nomade. And we, inspiring in these dancers, we create a series of cabinets named Maracatu, because Maracatu is the name of the dance. I visited the Louis Vuitton ateliers, and I decided to work, me and my brother, with the offcuts of Louis Vuitton. So we select the best offcuts, beautiful, and they did this project. They made this. This project took almost 2 years, because they were so details, it's amazing how each color looks randomly, but it's we create a map to one color next to the other to create this construction of the colors. This project, I think the color constructs the object. Each one is inspired in a Brazilian fruit from Amazon. They can be this and portable. We love nature. Now I'm going to present a series of objects made of inspired in nature. The countryside, sometimes we saw those scenes, and I always like to make a portrait of those things. I think me and my brother, we are storytellers, we are like photographers that makes portraits of things that we see. And, well, so inspired in this situation, we bought some bricks, named this Cobogó. This is a brick very normally used in Brazil because the ventilation, the air. And we created a series of objects inspired in terracotta. Nowadays, we did a shop in São Paulo that's going to open. The whole architecture is constructed with this with this brick, and it's a shop for Aesop in São Paulo. It's one of Earth's first projects in interior architecture. I love this table. It was produced by Edra, but it wasn't successful. We didn't sell that. So unfortunately, but I love this project. Sometimes I think takes a long time before people understand, or maybe the project is not good. I don't know why. I try to think this way. I'm a visionary, not to be rejected. I don't know. This is the Americans during the Second World War. They planted this bamboo in Salvador, in the airport of Salvador, to hide the planes from the bombs from the Germans. So this is a tunnel of, I guess, 1.5 kilometers full of bamboos. And whenever I go to Salvador, I like to go under this. Looks like it's cleaning my soul. And now again, a series of objects made out of natural materials, bamboo. First, this with the rattan is a screen, then a chair. I love this chair because we mix acrylic with bamboo. It's just one of a kind this chair. I went to Taiwan, in the countryside of Taiwan, and I worked 1 week with an artisan to make this chair. I love this chair because the parts, they don't touch where people sit, doesn't touch, there is a space between them. This bamboo is interesting because you need to make a drill, put some sand in the bamboo, then you start putting a mass, in order to curve. The sand doesn't allow the bamboo to open, to crack. This is interesting because we did a collection for a less in iron for them, and we sent the prototypes in bamboo. And Alberto Alessi, he loved the prototypes. So he decided, it's very rare to Alessi produce handcrafts in their companies. So they love the project, and this project is made in China by bamboo artisans, and it's very nice. I like this project very much. It's funny how sometimes you can change the company's philosophy without, by the chance. It was a prototype that I meant to be in iron and then produced it in bamboo. This is another project that we made with the collaboration with the Baccarat in France. We visited the Baccarat company in the countryside of France. It's beautiful, the factory. We went there during the evening to see the workers work, and I decided to pick up a very traditional chandelier, very iconic chandelier from them, and make a mixture with bamboo. So this is primitivism and tradition. We create this shock between nature and the elegance of France, the history. Is another hybrid. This I love. I did this project in Venini. I stayed 1 month with the glass blowers in Murano, and we did a collection. We named it Campani di Campana. Campana means bells in Italian. And we make this exhibition of 18 meters of cascade of glass, bells, and mixing with the natural materials. This is another project that I stayed 3 months in Rome working. I did a show exhibition in Rome where a project they contact a gallery in Rome. They contact us to work with the tradition in Rome. And I fall in love with Rome, and I create a collection that we named Barroco Rococo. And this is part of the museum. We did a show in the Musée des Arts Décoratifs in Paris 4 years ago, and where we mixed the bronze ornaments, mixing with the contemporary elements also, combs, scissors, plenty of materials, and the bamboo. It's very. This is another collection that we use. The name of this project is Dangerous Luxury, where we we create a shock between what is luxury today. And we pick up very simple materials, bamboo. The color is a grass that grows in Brazil named capim dourado, golden grass. Grows only in that part of Brazil. And it looks like gold. And we mix with diamonds. So that was a project that I like to do many things, investigate fashion, scenography. Nowadays we just finished a house in São Paulo. And this project born from water gallons in my house, because I love the shape, the typology of the water gallons. And I collect for, I guess, 1 year, I plenty of water gallons, and I didn't know what to do. I like to flirt with the things, And one day I have the idea to connect one to the other through weaving. And this is a project that we named Transplastic, where we imagine the universe, the world being the nature nurturing, eating the plastic and growing, feeding by the plastic. And then some gas gallons. This project was made in Vietnam. It's inner tubes, tires from the Vietnam, because it has plenty of motorcycle. It's a project that we did also in a village in Vietnam. And those scenes, it's very Brazilian. In the countryside, we saw those plastic chairs, very bad design, and we decided to give them an upgrade. So we start weaving plastic chairs with the rattan. It's funny because when you approach an artisan that's the whole life he's used to do one single thing, a basket of wicker, it's difficult, the first contact, because he kind of refuses you. And then I need to seduce. This is a seduction game. And then little by little they start understanding. I stay along then, and then we became very good friends. It's beautiful how you change, because their humor, they change because they are doing something new for them. We enlarge their vocabulary, and we did that. This all made in our studio. Some of them took 1 month and a half to be manufactured. This project I love because this was made here, this museum that I have a lot of affect for Cooper Hewitt. It was a project to select the permanent collection and project something from that inspiration. And we decided to work, we choose the things weaving, rattan, bamboo, wicker, and from that we created this project. We present in Miami where we were the design of the year. We work with the Brazilian gemstones and wicker. Then this is a project, we branch of trees, lamps. This is Venini glass and lamp. This was a camper shoe store in São Paulo, and has one here in Manhattan also. And this is another that we did in Firenze for them with straw, long time ago. Now, also again, inspired in tennis rackets, we work with the nylon and brass, create a shock, and there is the detail in bamboo. This is another. And watching those scenes in São Paulo, there are some corners there where you see people repairing the Austrian chairs, those Austrian chairs. And this is nearby my studio, and I always ask to the weaver to keep the leftovers because I would like to make a project. And he gave to me all those leftovers. and we start weaving with nylon. We create a collection that of furniture named Detonado. Detonado means chaos in Brazil. And this is the guy weaving. Then where we mix with the straw. We did a patchwork of the straws. This is another, I did this project 2 years ago, observing the rugs that where we cleaned the shoes. We made a collection of this we used to cover the furniture. This is an example that I like to give sophistication for a material that we will not see as a rug where you polish the shoes, but something very precious, at least for me. Well, now I'm in the end of my speech, and when I was a kid, I told you I was like to be an indigenous. I think today, with 63 years old, I finally becoming an indigenous, because I'm doing some project with the straw, the Brazilian straw. This was a project that we did for Swarovski. Also primitivism and high tech. We did a big chandelier where using their crystal and transpassing with the optical fiber. I love this project. The name was My Private Oca. Oca means the indigenous house. This was a project for Edra, Máximo Moroso. They love his chandelier and he decided to produce this in synthetic raffia. I love this, one of my favorite objects. The bed, this is also the part of that collection. These are some interventions in museums. This is the Vitor Frank Gehry, Zaha Hadid in Rome, Niemeyer in São Paulo. This was in Sweden 2 years ago. I worked with a group of students at the University of Umeå, and we, along with them, with their help, we create these woods. The name is wood, is to bring wood, the nature inside the inner spaces, the interior. And these are projects that we just finished 1 year ago. It's a house of two young people, because we have a problem with the very heat, because lots of sun in front of the house. So we cover the whole facade in order to give more comfort in terms of warm, and also beautiful. I think like a big plant, a big vegetable covering the house. This is the last project we made last year. As I told you, Brazil has a tradition of crafts. And what me and my brother recently we are trying to do is to rescue traditions that are disappearing. One day I got in contact with this gentleman. His name is Expedito, because he's used to make shoes. And I love the way that shoes were made, all handmade. And he lives in a very remote place in Brazil. And I visited and I proposed him to work together. I created the structure for the object, and he would cover the whole object with his work. The only thing that we choose were the materials and also the colors. And me and my brother give him totally freedom to do whatever he could do. This was horse celery. So I started picking up details and to transform into furniture. This is the area. It's beautiful. It's very dry, like a desert in the northeast of Brazil. Very dry. This is the landscape. His father was used to make clothing for the cangaceiros. Cangaceiros was a group of bandits, like Robin Hood. They steal the farmers to give the poor. And they were very fashionable. They asked for his father to create their clothes with leather. So that was the origin of this work. There was Maria Bonita, the only lady. Imagine this in early 20s in Brazil, and only a single woman in the middle of this. They were very dangerous. They kill people, they kidnap, and they create a whole aesthetic. And from this, we create a series of objects that we named cangaço, in homage to this those people. All handmade in leather, different colors. This is a project that took almost 1 year and a half to very detailed. Here I use straw to make the very light, the furniture, and ask him to cover. And the details are his universe. He dreams. Also straw. This also to make light, we cover with straw and he cover with leather. And this is my favorite one because it has so many details from the celery. We decided to put also metal on it, and something that I would like to go more investigating. Now we are going to in June 2nd of June we are going to present a new work that I'm going to, for the very first time, I'm going to show just one object. Is a project that we did with a collaboration of a community of embroidery ladies in the Northeast, also in Brazil. And we made a portrait of them. We make photographs their faces, and ask them to embroider their faces because they are normally used to make tablecloths. And when we approach them, we enlarge their vocabulary because we propose a new object. And we create a series of 40 lamps because the project has 40 ladies embroidery, and we create a lamp that's going to be present, 40 lamps with their faces, embroidery, very details, and one of each color, different colors, and that's it. Thank you. Hello, hello.
Hello? Mine on? Yes. Wow. Humberto, earlier tonight you said, Caroline, usually it's my brother who does these talks. I hope I'm okay. That was unforgettable. Thank you so much for that very personal dive into the studio and how you think, how you're inspired. It was really quite moving and beautiful, so thank you.
Thank you. I tried to did my best.
And I remember in 2008 when you were here for Campana Brothers Selects, you were generous enough to also give a talk just for the Cooper Hewitt team. And one of your slides, I remember to this day, was just the sky. And you were talking about looking at the clouds and how that fueled your creativity and your thoughts. And it really affected me because I look a lot at the clouds too. But something that struck me tonight is we all live these really fast-paced lives. And sometimes it's hard to slow down and really notice everything around you. And you and your brother excel at that. And how do you do that as you're working on so many projects and exhibitions and programs? How do you just stop and appreciate this world around us and then integrate it into your work?
I think it's part of my DNA to look things that are hidden corners. For me, it stimulates me to create beauty from something very trivial. I put all my vision, my eyes in corners, hidden corners. And this is the challenge that teases me, to wow, I'd like to transform this. I think me and my brother, we are alchemists, to change the DNA of the material and give them the material, another DNA. I think this is important. I like to observe everything. My eyes don't stop. I look everything, details. I'm not a good talker, not a philosopher or theoretical, but I think my intellectuality, I put in the hands. And we observing, because everything I learned was working with the hands, in observing, going to museums and observing, watching, and I would like, I'm jealous, I would love to be someone like this. I think an artist needs to be jealous in a very good way, in a good sense, to makes you grow.
You are indeed an alchemist, absolutely. You must have been a pretty unhappy lawyer.
Yes, completely. Very.
So
One day I tried
why
to
did
commit
you do that?
suicide. I was in a high building, and a friend of mine, no, please don't go. Yeah, serious.
So tell people a little bit about your personal life and how long you were a lawyer, and then how you
I guess
learned the skills you
it
have.
lasts, I guess, 8 months. I don't remember very well. Because Brazil, in the 70s, there was the military government. So for you to be, first of all, for you to be an artist at that time was considered a terrorist, guerrilleiros. So my family, they didn't allow me to get in touch with arts because an artist could be considered a communist. So I choose the easiest way, because I love literature, and the University of Law in São Paulo was famous for poets, writers, that they didn't become lawyers, but they became poets. So I decided to move to that direction. Then I moved, after I graduated law, I moved to Bahia. Because Bahia, it was at that time, Mick Jagger, James Joplin were used to go there in the remote places, and that was beautiful. Train for me was glamour. And I moved there, and I stayed in a beach. I didn't know what to do. There was a friend of mine, an architect, and he started to commission myself to make mirrors with seashells. So my early beginning, I was in the shore, pick up the seashells, polish them, then glued in the wall, and it wasn't ugly. It was very naive, but there was something beautiful, something that I was used to do this. I never worked with the hands. Mm-hmm. Then I stayed there 1 year. I moved to São Paulo and started taking courses of jewelry, welding, terracotta. And then one day Fernando came to give me a helping hand, and I started giving functionality to those objects. And that was our beginning.
So when was the moment when the two brothers looked at one another and said, we should form a studio? Let's do
Never.
this. Never.
We are very good. What happens is spontaneously.
Spontaneous.
Yeah. He never pretended to be. He keeps staying because he worked in São Paulo-based now. He was working with Basquiat, Kit Haring. So he has all those, the vibe of Biennale, the modernity, because I was very naive at that time. I was a lawyer, from my education, trying to be an artist. So I did horrible pieces in the beginning, very without no taste. And he started to polishing me. And little by little I started traveling. Then we did that exhibition, Uncomfortable, with the article of Marco Romanelli. And then came the invitation from Massimo Morosi for that chair, and the invitation also from Paolo Antonelli. Mm-hmm. And then little by little our life starts to change. But it's always difficult to be an artist. Even today, after 30 years, it's more demanding because you need to bring new things. You don't stop, never.
Well, the other thing that's demanding, I think, is working with a brother, a family member. And Fernando is an architect, a trained architect. My brother's an architect, and I would have trouble working with him. I love him, but So I'm just curious, you talked about a quarrel. I've never seen the two of you quarreling. You always seem very peaceful and simpatico. Talk to us a little bit about the relationship. What was that quarrel over with the Vermelha?
Well, there will be a book about the B-side of Campana Brothers. So we did so very crazy things together, because Fernando's much more. I'm very chaotic, and he's much more organized. So it starts from this, Sometimes I'm impatient. He's calmer than me, but there are the people of this studio, because he's very creative also. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he comes with an idea, and myself with another, and there is always this, jealousy. Who is going to win? And we ask them, the studio, to be the judges. Which project is going to be easier to do, or because there's always Yeah, but we travel together. We have been traveling a lot. We are very good friends.
Right.
80 years difference. I'm the older one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about the studio, and I'm dying to come visit. Ian is clearly very happy to be part of the team, and we're super pleased to have Ian with us this week too, with all of our Design by Hand programs. Tell us a little bit about the ambiance in the studio. How many people are there? Where do you recruit the people that are working with you? And then lastly, when you're not doing a small edition and things are sent out to be manufactured, how do you stay involved?
Okay. Well, the whole Estudio Campana is based in the center, downtown São Paulo, in a old garage where Fernando has lived in the beginning. And there are just 13 people. We like the very small atmosphere. It's like a family. Everybody has something doing. There was, I guess, 4 or 5 internship working with architectural, make projects in the computer, and the rest are artisans that we got from the fashion. The ladies that made the plush chairs, they come from the working users to make dresses for ladies. So we bring them to our studio, and they are working for us, I guess, for almost 15 years. And it's very small. It's always something happening there. I like this because there is one welding, as I told you, weaving. It's to be small is important because you can experiment many things. And today we create an institute where we want to maintain our work alive and also to work with kids from the favelas, poor communities, and teach them to change their lives. As myself, I changed my life working with the hands. So Ian, he goes there every week, once in a week, in the morning, in the afternoon. He works with kids, and he brings them their universe, things that they got in the street, cardboard, slats of wood, and we ask them to create objects. It's funny, when we did the favela chair, 2003, it was controversial because it was very published, but some people, they told us that we take advantage of the favela, the poor people. And that thing stay in my mind for a long time. And I think that criticism makes us to approach with more maturity, to make this project. And we want to enlarge this. We want to maintain. I want to got then a carpentry not to just work with cardboard, but something that they can see reality.
So you're trying to teach them skills so they can go forward in life. And
this is the idea.
That's great.
And something that was bothering me for a long time, make us conscious about why did I should choose that name, in Brazil especially, because it was people great kind of. And
how many students are involved, or how many children are involved right now?
Yeah, how much?
50. That's fantastic.
And myself, whenever I'm in São Paulo, I teach watercolors for them. I like also to see their reality. It's funny because it's a completely different world. Their roles. When I go there and ask them, what would you like to be when you grow up? Drug dealer, cocaine drug dealer. It's their reality. So we try to be in contact with them. We bring them another reality, because everything is negative.
Right.
They want to kidnap people. They want to rob, steal. And I propose them, me and Ian, as much to show other things, And it's difficult. It's not easy. But it's a project that has been doing for 1 year, I guess, or 2 years.
3 years.
3 years, yeah. He knows better because he's much more involved in the project.
Well, and most of them have never seen watercolor, obviously, so they're it's something brand new. Now, speaking of watercolor, that leads me to something else that I'm curious about. Do you watercolor? How do you relax and get away from your project sometimes and create in a different way? I mean, you're so poetic, use metaphor all the time. Are you writing? Are you sculpting? What do you...
No, I love to jog.
Jog?
Yeah, my hotel is nearby the Central Park, and I have been jogging 6 kilometers every day. I love to. I was used to smoke, and that was important to quit smoke and decide. So meanwhile I jog. Ideas start to come into my mind, and I like to walk. I do long walks, you know. Saturday we walked 21 kilometers in Manhattan, and after I run 6 kilometers. So, yeah, I don't stop. I'm very, very impatient. I like to do things quickly, and I don't sleep. You know, I take sleeping pills. And I like movies. I love new films, movies. I love every weekend. I'm used to see 2 movies on the movie theater.
I was going to say I'd meet you in Central Park tomorrow morning, but I think you'll go too fast for me. And speaking of experimentation, you know, you showed us one marvelous creative project after the next. Can you talk about something that you or your brother came up with that just didn't work, and why?
Oh, so many projects. So I think that a designer, a creator, you need to make mistakes in order to learn. It's fun. Once we make a chair for leather, all in leather, named Leather Works. It's all there, a chair leather, all deconstructed in leather. And Icon magazine in UK, they make a list of the 10 worst designers in a good sense, good, ugly, beautiful, and 10 ugly, worst. And we are the first of the list of the ugly parts, you know, the ugly. And it was funny because Massimo Moroso, he was proud of that. I remember that we were used to do lectures together, and he said, "I'm very proud to do the ugliest chair chosen by Icon." That was fun because it's important for you to make mistakes, be humble, and maybe from that you learn more. You know, you give another. So we did so many things that wasn't successful, like that table in terracotta that I love but didn't sell.
Right.
They had a takeout of edition. So many things happen. The B-side of it's not glamour. It's a lot of work, transpiration behind.
And getting back to this question of quality control, when things are manufactured elsewhere, how do you and your brother stay involved so that you know what the end product is going to look like and that you're happy with that?
We are not used to work with so many people. We like to maintain our philosophy. Is more people who look for us, they know our philosophy. So we prefer to work with few people, but to make good things that we can trust. Sometimes we Skype. Sometimes I stay along with them for 1 week, trying to understand each other. But normally we don't have never problems. Always people know what to look for, expecting from us. Are special people, Lacoste, Louis Vuitton, Baccarat, companies that I would love, always dream to work with. So it's a dream come true.
And the latest work that you showed, is that what you're working on right now, or is that already put to bed?
No, it's going to be an exhibition now in 15 days in Rio de Janeiro. We make a box, completely very normal box in wood, where there is going to be hanged 40 lamps of them, each of one color with their faces. And I'm curious to see all together because I just got that prototype and I decided to show for you the first time.
And first lighting?
Yes, first lighting for them.
Right.
Them, because normally they are used to make tablecloths. So I like to do things,
mix it
the
up.
contact, to enlarge their techniques and make there is a smile in their face when they succeed. And myself, I enlarge my vocabulary also, techniques, because the base of our work is the handcrafts, the material. Always the project starts from the material. He says what he wants to be transformed into. I flirt with the material and then moving direction of is it going to be a sofa or a lamp or a jewelry.
I was wondering about that because you're always telling stories in your different series of projects, and I wondered if the story came first or looking at the rope and saying, I want to make a chair out of this. And it seems like it's a little bit of each, right?
Yeah, each, yeah. And then born the concept. First is the material. I think a designer needs to get the limit of the material. It's important, in my case, to research its DNA. And then, after working a lot, playing with the material, find a solution which object he wants to be transformed into.
It's so admirable, too, that you have some sort of blinders where you don't follow trend, and you're really following your love for materials, textures, color. I really scratched my head about how you do that because you're at Salone, you're at all of these different international shows. You'd think that you'd be influenced by what you're seeing, but yet you remain completely independent as a thinker
Sometimes
and creator.
in consciousness we got absorbed. I think, yes, but sometimes I try to maximum, I ask myself, is it Campana? Is this, do you recognize Campana? And I ask them to the studio. Sometimes I have ideas and first I ask them, do you think this is Campana? Sometimes they say, no, this is not Campana. So I abort the project in terms to maintain the philosophy of our beginning.
What's the idea behind the branding or the mark here of Campana, and how long have you had that?
There was a comet that was in the sky, I guess 20 years ago. I don't remember the name of the comet. And a friend of mine, she was studying in Switzerland, in École Cantonale de Lausanne, and she made her thesis in our brand. She created this logo like a comet. Yeah.
Wow.
I like this.
It endured, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is an incredible opportunity, and I'm hogging the stage. So I want to open this up for questions from the audience.
Hello.
Hello.
And thank you very much for your talk. I was actually curious, in a few of your previous interviews, you've spoken about having as you say, a wicked, aggressive side. And I was curious as to where that comes from. Is it from more of your earlier artistic days, and then how does that sort of develop in your later work as a designer? And yeah.
It's funny because I guess the part we named that collection of uncomfortables. I think that collection was a vomit. I guess the 5 years in law school, So I tried to put all my, my despair, the anger, the military, the power, the dictatorship. Also at that time, Brazilian designers were focused in Europe, trying to pretend to be Italians or Japanese, and that was my anger. I tried to make a portrait, explore the mistake, the imperfection, the chaos, and yeah. But today I try to be more. I think the materials that we choose to work along the years, they move in something more comfortable. For 10 years we were named uncomfortable designers, and more we try to the upholst with the teddy bears. We try to find comfort with the help of the materials.
Hi. I'm going to try to squeeze in two questions. I first saw your work at the Palm Springs Museum about 5 years ago, and it just blew me away, especially with the early work. You could see all the weld marks and all the flaws, which seemed like it was incredibly brave for you to do as a new designer. Because I've never seen anything else, any other designers not worry about the little flaws here and there. Actually, you're showing them off. Now, as you get, also, the second question, as you get more and more well-known, are your pieces becoming more like as collector items rather than actually being used?
Uh-huh. That's a good question. Because, you know, I project a chair that takes 1 month or a sofa to be manufactured. Nobody, no big company would like to, to do those crazy, obsessive objects. So we decide to maintain a smaller edition. I maintain my studio, you know, I earn my money honestly, ethically. And, you know, I decide to make it small editions, sell for a good price, a reasonable price, because it's all handmade and it's tailoring. Takes, you know, it's one alligator is stitched by. So this takes times. So we decide to go, sometimes to go to this direction, because maybe from those projects that takes long, we can do more democratic objects. We are still looking for, you know, we did shoes in Brazil. We are very well known to make plastic shoes, inspired in our objects. It's funny because I asked them when we were invited, I like to maximum of recyclable plastic in the shoes. So today we achieve 6% of recyclable PVC in our shoes, because I like to, if I can do, you know, bring all those elements, is important. So those sometimes it's very expensive, I agree, but I can maintain my studio, my structure, small structure, and we don't sell so much, you know, it's not absurd.
I'm an art educator, and I'm very struck by what you said in terms of opening young people's eyes to the importance of seeing possibilities in all kinds of materials. Is there any way in which you can work with a cohort of art teachers in your country and train them to the possibilities of materials that are local, wherever, all across the country, but whatever's local, and have them come up with their ideas of what's possible in terms of stimulating children's creativity and imaginations, and then possibly tie it to functionality, but not necessarily.
Okay.
But it sounds like you would be the perfect inspiration to champion a project that so inspired you.
Well, I travel a lot, because I love to travel. I don't stop in Brazil, but we can, yes, Ian can help us. It would be interesting to bring them in the favela to see the reality, because I was used to teach, I did a lot of workshops in France, Babouché, in Brazil, Italy, Sweden. I was used to do a lot of things. And nowadays I kind of restrict, because I'm getting old, my energy, I don't have the energy of 10 years ago, and I try to concentrate in my creations, because whenever you teach, you give away all your inspiration. So I try also to maintain myself, but it will be fun. I like to get in contact with new ideas, new people. I like to, we can, after, I can give you my address and discuss.
Oi, tudo bom?
Tudo bem.
Tudo jóia. Humberto, super pleased to hear that you work with NGOs and kids from favelas, tell them artists embrace social responsibility to their work, and maybe Ian can even chime in. My question is, I'm sure there's a lot of hurdles to work with incarcerated women and men and underprivileged people. How do you, what are the logistics of it? How do you make them show up to work? How do you, do they come sober? How do you make sure that they can actually produce? And
well, the logistics, well, there is the Estudio Campana that we work in the favela, and the things that we do for our, the project, so Estudio Campana, the chairs, we got in contact with the people who already work with them, so there is a whole logistic behind that, because it's easier. Because sometimes for me, imagine you go to the Northeast, to Brazil. Once I decided to do myself, I got in contact with a community of weavers of golden grass in the center of Brazil. And I phoned them, I told them, I would love to make objects, and they, oh, please come visit us. I visited, it took 8 hours by car. And I make a lot of drawings. They all say, oh, we are going to do, etc. And then the next day they phone me, no, we are not going to do. So we decide to have people that have contact with make all the logistics, transportation, everything taken care, because it's difficult, it's not easy. Yeah.
So I think we have time for just one more question.
It's not really a question, it's more of a statement. And I'm going to get kind of emotional when I say this, but I had the pleasure to be in the Campana studio in São Paulo. And I would like to say that it is the most compassionate place I've ever been. And when Humberto talks about his workers, I was there when they were making the chair with the dolls. And the woman is just very carefully placing all the dolls in a really special place. And the man is in there, that large chair that's made out of, I think is it bamboo, the wood woven? Mm-hmm. He's just there methodically, very patiently doing it. And I've been in a lot of studios in my life, and I have to say that it's amazing what they are. And I'd like to kind of nickname them the compassionate Campanas. Because I think that's, and when you look at that logo actually symbolizes optimism. So that's what I just wanted to say. We worked on Destination Brazil together in 2009.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Beautiful conclusion to our evening. Thank you, Bonnie. I think we would all agree, and what a special evening for the Cooper Hewitt community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.